So now that we know what to look for and what specificity is not, let's get into the most important part, what specificity actually is. Specificity, basically broken down, is the transferability of the training into the sport. So doing things that are actually going to transfer into my sport performance. And there's a couple different categories here that we can break down. The first one is movement classification. What are the actual movements that you need to use in your sport? Do you need to run straight ahead? Do you need to run straight ahead and then jump? Do you jump off 1 foot? Do you jump off 2 feet? Do you need to land and backpedal? Do you need to change directions rapidly? Do you need to face straight ahead as you change directions? Do you shuffle or crossover or backpedal in order to link those movements together? The more I can do my research into the actual sport and see what the movements are, then I can use my knowledge on movement training and efficiency and try to make you more efficient in the movements that you actually need for your sport. Number 2, energy systems. Again, specific to your sport. Energy systems are basically the motor and how I train that motor specific to my sport. I'm not going to train myself with the motor of a Prius if I'm trying to perform in a Formula 1 race. So, that being said, if I'm training a football player or a baseball player, probably not going to do a 25-minute CrossFit WOD of the day, or CrossFit WOD, in order to train for a sport where the average play time is only about 6 seconds. Not going to transfer, and what you see is athletes who go in and they just do a bunch of conditioning looking stuff, and they think, I'm in shape, I'm fit, and then they get out and they go do some boxing, or they go play football, and they wonder why all this crap they did in the off season doesn't transfer and they're still out of shape when they got to football. The reason is the energy systems you were training were not specific to the energy systems that you need to perform in your sport. Next is strength qualities. So there's a lot of different strength qualities that are necessary to be successful in sport. People get lost on this term strength, but you can have the strength qualities that are necessary to be an offensive lineman are very different than the strength qualities to be a wide receiver. A wide receiver needs a lot of reactive strength, being able to express force very, very rapidly, change directions, sprint fast, jump high. All of those things require a very specific type of strength, whereas an offensive lineman requires a lot of maximum strength. They need to be able to apply massive amounts of force over time in order to move a massive human being that's trying to apply force into me. They don't need nearly the strength qualities that a receiver does. So that's why strength training can get a bad name sometimes, because a tennis player thinks of strength as squatting 700 pounds and deadlifting 700 pounds, and that's strength training, and I don't need that for a tennis player. And that's probably true. But you do need strength training that's going to transfer to your sport. So we need to analyze what are the strength qualities that are going to be necessary. How do you need to be able to apply those strength qualities and that amount of force? What kind of time you need to be able to apply that force in? And what's going to be the most efficient way to do that so that we can use the right energy systems so I can apply that force throughout a long duration of time. And that's how I set up my strength program specific to your sport. Next is my primary joint angles and force vectors. So we talked about strength qualities and the application of force, but what angles do I need to apply that force? Do I need to change directions straight forward and straight back? Therefore, it's going to require a lot of change in joint angles and change in body positions and a lot of different strength qualities that we talked about. Or do I just run straight ahead at top speed, very upright? Very different joint angles, very different force that I'm applying into the ground. So what are the specific angles that are going to be the most efficient for your sport? And how can I absorb and apply different forces to make me more efficient and faster in those movements? What are the external stimuli in your sport? So if I train you in a change of direction drill where we're running and doing a 4-cone box drill or a bunch of agility ladders or whatever else, and you're doing all of that stuff and working on quick feed and all this kind of stuff, and then you get out to the football field and everything that you do as a defensive back, you have to react to the quarterback and you have to react to the wide receiver that's running at you, what kind of patterns they run, and everything is based on this external stimulus. But you haven't trained anything in an external stimulus. All you've trained is all these quick feed drills. The transferability of that onto the actual football field is going to be very minimal because I haven't trained to react to an external stimulus of the sport, or I haven't trained to ignore the external stimuli that are around me and focus on whatever it is I need to react to. If I'm a fighter who's going to get out in front of hundreds of thousands of people, or I have to play with a team and I have to react to different movements of my own teammates or my opponents, we have to know what those external stimuli are going to be, and therefore the more we can apply that into our movement training, the more it's going to transfer to my sport. And then the last one, what are the common injuries of the sport? If I'm a pitcher, most common injuries are going to be elbow and shoulder on my throwing side. Therefore, my training program is going to be based around creating some symmetries of strength, working on preventing any injuries or asymmetries that will be built up from excessive overuse of that shoulder, that elbow, or that throwing arm. So I got to look at what are the most common injuries of the sport or the position, and therefore develop my training plan around bulletproofing your body to prevent or reduce the incidence of those injuries occurring. So that's what specificity actually is. This is what will transfer onto the football field or the wrestling mats or the tennis courts or whatever it is. This is just gimmicks and tricks and misguided stuff that's used by people who just don't know what specificity actually is. Nothing against them, they just don't know what it actually is, so they're just guessing and making stuff up and hoping that something will transfer. And hopefully you'll be a better athlete. Another really, really important reminder about that 12-year-old or 11-year-old that I talked about at the beginning is this stuff is really important as you get to a higher level in sport, but you have to build the foundation first. Without a solid foundation, we can't apply any of the rest of the sport-specific stuff. Coming in and training all of these kind of qualities right off the bat for an 11-year-old, for his baseball, would be like bringing him in, and instead of teaching him how to swing a baseball bat, we're talking about advanced recruiting strategies for getting the best pitchers onto your team. Way outside of his scope. He doesn't even understand the basics of the game, and you're getting into something super advanced that he's never going to understand, and even if he does understand it, he's not going to be able to apply it because he doesn't have a foundation built. Same thing here. We have to build a foundation of strength and movement quality and change of direction abilities and core strength, motor control, coordination, balance. We have to build a foundation of this. A pyramid can only be built as high as its base is wide. So we have to build that really, really wide base when he's 11 years old and 12 and 13 and 14, 15, and 16. And as he gets to be a more elite athlete and he starts to peak into his sport, if he's a gymnast, we're going to be around 16. If he's a football player, we're going to be building that foundation all the way up until he's in college. So we have to build that foundation first. Otherwise, the rest is just going to lead to overtraining, getting hurt, or it's just not going to improve his performance. So 99% of what an athlete needs at 11 or 12 or 13 years old is going to be exactly the same whether they play baseball or basketball or football or tennis or water polo. They have to build that foundation first. And the foundation is 99.9% the same, with a little bit of tweaks and specificity in order to help them, or just some tweaks and specificity so that they're a little bit more bought in to what we're actually doing. So keep that in mind when you're putting together your training program or you're assessing the program of your trainer or your coach. Make sure you know what sport-specific training actually is and what sport-specific training is not. Make sure you check out my YouTube channel and subscribe to me on YouTube so you can keep getting all these up-to-date videos. I'm going to do another video really soon on what to look for in terms of a trainer or coach. A lot of gimmicky trainers out there, so make sure you check out that video so you know what to look for so that you're not wasting your money with somebody who's stuck in this kind of stuff. I'm Coach PJ. Hopefully this helps. Thanks for checking it out.